Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, your hosts, Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert.
You're listening to The Straight Line on drag racing at MRN.com. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you joining us. Heading to the Lone Star State, we'll chat with Greg Anderson and his chances for a Pro Stock Championship. Brittany Force is third in top fuel points, and we'll chat with the driver of the Monster Energy machine. Also, Jim Oberhofer is here to talk racing and his new book. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Thanks for being here on Wednesday afternoon, wherever you may be, across the country, around the world on MRN.com. This is The Straight Line. My name is Marty Hough, along with 4-time IHRA Top Fuel Champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert. And we were just talking before we went on air. It's going to be pretty close where you're going to need to have two of you. You're going to need to be cloned. The brake schools all over the place. A really cool one this weekend in Minnesota. First time up in the central north Midwest.
Yeah, we had a great time. First time ever in Minneapolis, Minnesota this past weekend with the Mannheim Auto Auction folks and our friends from Kia. Trained a couple hundred teenage drivers up there and their parents, so had a great time there. The week before that, we were in Orlando, Florida at another Mannheim location. We're going this weekend to Raleigh, North Carolina to the Trooper Training Center. We've got meetings next week in Washington, D.C. with the National Organization of Youth Safety. The following weekend, we're in Denver, Colorado. So and it just doesn't stop. So we've got a lot of stuff going on between now and the end of the year, but it's a lot of fun. The feedback that we get from teenagers and from the parents and the differences that we're able to make in the driving habits of these teenagers makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, and you do a lot with the Mannheim folks because you've been up to Pennsylvania at their facility up there, and now doing the things in Orlando, Minnesota. It's a great relationship with them.
Yeah, they've been a great bunch, and we really love working with them, and they've got some wonderful people over there that do great things to help brakes and help teen safe driving. So it's been a great thing. We're lucky to have partners like Mannheim and Kia and the North Carolina State Highway Patrol and Coletta Motorsports. And the list just goes on. And I would have never thought that the worst day of my life, when my boys got in a car accident, would end up turning into something good to help other teenagers and keep my boys relevant.
Yeah, and like you said in the NBC interview that was last year, if you didn't do something about it, you're just as guilty. And you're doing something about it and saving lives, and that's the most important part.
Well, it would have been just as easy to just pack it in and say, you know what, I just can't take it. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to do something. Yeah. But I think doing brakes and training teenagers, not just about safe driving, but about making good decisions in general, is it's rewarding for me. And I think we're doing something good for the teenagers. And there's just a lot. There's nothing bad that comes out of it. It's all good.
No question about it. I mean, we're in the middle of October. You're busy right now, but you also got to be preparing for 2016. I mean, you've already kind of talked about some of the things that you've got going on for next year.
Yeah, we're doing over 30 weekends this year of breaks, which is, that's a lot of traveling. Next year, it looks like we're going to probably have 40 weekends. So we've got
Wait a minute, there's 52 in a year.
There's a lot of teenagers out there that we need to help and make them better drivers. And everybody drives down the road next to somebody that's texting or swerving around or not paying attention. That's what causes accidents. We're teaching not only the teenagers but the parents to be better teachers to their teenagers and be better role models for teenagers as well.
Along with that, we're also racing. And, headed down to the Texas Motorplex this weekend for the fourth race in the countdown. Billy Meyer's facility, one of the best in drag racing, all-concrete facility, has been since it was erected back in the mid-'80s or so.
Yeah,
85,
86 or 87 was about the first year they raced there.
Yep, and one of the favorite places for the drivers and the racers and the teams to go to. Not only are you in kind of the Dallas area, and there's a lot of things to do, but the racing is also great there.
The racing's always fast, and what it always has seemed with the Texas Motorplex that generally, the weather is really important on how the cars run. But for some reason, that the surface at the Texas Motorplex doesn't seem to be as critical for the little bit of a temperature change, or if it gets hot or the sun comes out. That track is fast, and it's always fast. Whatever they manage to do down there, whatever Billy Meyer and his team do, it keeps it fast. So. Yep. There will be some good racing this weekend, and a lot of the points races are coming down to the wire. Yeah. We're going to hear from Greg Anderson a little bit later, and then Jim Oberhofer, team manager for the Coletta Motorsports, with Del Worsham leading the funny car team there. So a lot of things to talk about. Top Fuel, Antron Brown has made a little bit of a breakaway, I suppose, in some respect. But you know what? It's not over till Pomona, and we've all seen what can happen there with Schumacher a few years ago coming down to the last run, the last deal, and having to set the national record and win the race to win, and he did it. So it's not over until it's over. Yeah. And this weekend in Texas can be a very pivotal time for a lot of the teams. And one of the questions I was going to ask Greg Anderson, because the Pro Stock cars are so dependent on conditions because of they're naturally aspirated vehicles, the moving back the race date at the Texas Motorplex, traditionally it was a September race. Now they've kind of moved that back into the middle of October. I mean, how big is that for these teams? And you talked about since it is a concrete facility, it really doesn't change a whole lot, but is that still a little bit of an advantage to most of the teams, whether it's fuel or Pro Stock? Well, it's cooler, and the better conditions are going to make the cars run better. So what happens there, don't know. I know in the past the Top Fuel cars and the funny cars seem to do pretty well there no matter what. The Pro Stock cars seem to sometimes have a little bit of issues. The groove is narrow at Texas. That is a problem for some of those guys and some of the bikes. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to ask Greg Anderson what his opinion is on the Pro Stock cars running at the Texas Motorplex. I'm sure he has a feeling one way or the other. I'm guessing he's probably won the race there in the past, but he obviously knows that track well. So I'll be interested to ask Greg what he thinks about racing there at Texas Motorplex. We'll also talk to Brittany Force, third right now in Top Fuel points, and she has really made a solid improvements over the 2015 season, especially later on in the season where they ran really good at Reading, where most cars didn't get down the track. She was able to get down the track, was the number one qualifier, made it to the semifinals. So a real improvement with that Monster Energy team at John Force Racing. Well, for sure. She's driving the car well, but the car's running really well. I mean, she's been number one qualifier a couple times this year, and it's been consistent. She's been to some finals. So it's just a matter of time before that car's going to get a win. It's just going to happen. Right. The car's too good to not win. Yep. So that's coming around. So it'll be interesting to talk to Brittany and see what her feelings are and when she thinks she's going to get that Monster Energy dragster in the winner's circle. It's got to be really frustrating for her because she's been to 5 finals now, come up empty in all of them. But the one thing about it is that she can always look at her father as a great example of that because he went to double-digit finals. It could have been in the teens somewhere before he finally got his first win, and now 150 some odd later, he's still winning races. Well, it comes back to what we've talked about before. That first win is critically important. Eric Enders went to how many finals? I mean, all these. I went to, I don't remember, quite a few finals before I won a race. Getting that first win is a big step. Once you get that, you know where the winner's circle is, you know how to make it happen, and it just starts happening. Yeah, and Chris McGahey, another really good example. Yeah. He'd been to a couple of finals, came up empty, won at Seattle, and now all of a sudden he's three deep and could be more. So we'll talk to Brittany here in just a couple of minutes. We'll also talk to Jim Oberhofer will be here. We're going to talk a little bit of racing, but we're also going to talk about his new book as well. And Jimmo's got quite a story.
Yeah.
Not only with Coletta Motorsports, but his, he started at Coletta's back in the 80s, in the early 80s. Yeah. So he's got a lot of history there with Connie and Scott, the whole team. He was there, obviously, when Scott lost his life at Englishtown in 2008, which we all remember that. Yeah. His wife, Tammy, fought some battles. We'll talk to him about that. And he's got a neat daughter, Ashley, super great kid. I think she's maybe about 20 years old now. And super kid, so we'll talk to him about her and see what she's doing. She must be going to college now, I suppose.
Yep, A Taste of Top Fuel for Life is the name of the new book, and we will talk to Jimmo here a little bit later on in the program. But when we return, we will talk to the driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel Dragster. Brittany Force joins us next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
A dead battery can leave you stranded, so get yours tested for free during Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Need a replacement? Purchase a Superstart Extreme or Superstart Platinum battery and get up to $25 in O'Reilly gift cards after a mail-in rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my two sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
It's The Straight Line.
Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
There's two drivers right now in top fuel points that have kind of separated themselves from the pack. But right now, the best of the rest is right now at third in points. And she is the driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel Dragster for John Force Racing. Joining us on the telephone line right now, Brittany Force joins us. Thanks so much for your time, Brittany. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Hi, thanks. Glad to be on.
Hey, so coming from, last year and getting up to speed and struggling a little bit, all of a sudden now you found yourself, Brittany, in a pretty good position where number 3 in points, you've been low qualifier, you've been to several finals now. I think that car's getting ready to be in the winner's circle pretty soon.
Thank you. That's, definitely what we're going for. We've turned this car around. I have a great team, great crew chiefs behind me, and, with Monster Energy on board, they stepped on up in Atlanta, and that's really where things, we struggled the first few races, but started to get things turned around, and it's definitely showing. We're number 3 in points, and I'm very excited about it. It's pretty cool to be number 3, and we only have a few races left, and we just hope to keep moving up the ladder and hopefully bring home our first win. That's really what we're going after. That's what I really want more than anything, is to bring home our first win.
Well, you got 3 more chances this year, so you've got somebody pretty good with your dad that he knows where the winner's circle is at pretty much all these tracks. What's going to motivate you and get you over the little bit of a hump that you need to get that first win? Because it seems like once that first win happens, they just kind of start coming a little, not that they're easier, but it's like where the winner circle is and something just happens a little bit different.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. Everyone always says it's that first one that's difficult to get. And after that, they start flying in. So that's what we're hoping for. And right now our focus is qualifying. That's where we struggle. We want to make every single run count. We want all 4 qualifying passes. We want our car to go down there and, get us set up and get us ready for Sunday. And, that's really where you've seen us struggle throughout the year, is we don't get all those 4 qualifying passes. So it's definitely difficult, but, we head to, I leave town today, and we're heading to Dallas, and like I said, we have 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and eliminations on Sunday, so that's where we're hoping to, really figure it out and get those 4 runs in and get us set up for Sunday so we can bring home our first win.
Speaking of qualifying, number 1 qualifier at Reading, where most cars just didn't get down the track, whether it was Top Fuel or whether it was the funny cars. How much confidence did you get from going to Reading, being that number one qualifier, getting yourself through the liners, getting into the semis? Of course, Tony and Antron right now are just kind of leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. But it seemed like you guys were getting down the track when most didn't. That got to give you a lot of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. We were the only one, first. We got gypped some qualifying passes because of weather, but everybody did. But, our car went straight down there every single run. We had our career best ET, career best miles per hour. So that's exactly where we wanted to be. And that's really where everything adds up. Now that we're in the countdown and we only have a few races left, we have to make every single run count.
Well, over there, Brittany, at John Force Racing, you've got Todd Smith. You're obviously making the calls and being your guy. Who else is important over there on that team besides your dad at John Force Racing that are making the making the decisions that's going to get the car in the winner's circle?
Everybody. It's drag racing. It's all about a team. We need every single person on that car to do their job perfectly every single time. And it wouldn't be possible. Any of the runs, none of it would be possible without every single guy doing their job, giving 110%, especially our crew chief, Todd Smith, and co-crew chief, Ronnie Thompson. Very lucky to, be teamed up with them, but it's a team effort. It takes every single person on the team to make it happen.
Brittany, I want to take you back a little bit. Maybe not something that is a career highlight for you, and probably something you want to forget, but I thought it was really interesting. At Charlotte, you go up first round against Larry Dixon, end up in a tremendous pedal fest. Larry nips you at the end. But what I thought was interesting, and I just happened to be down in the starting lines for the next run, you and Sean Langdon were having a kind of a conversation between one another, and it was very evident what you were talking about because Sean was kind of pantomiming what happens during a pedal fest, and you were kind of doing the same thing. And if somebody from racing got in on this, or were looking at the two of you kind of doing what you were doing, pantomiming what happens, you thought they were out of your minds because it was just kind of funny to watch. But what did you learn about that whole deal at Charlotte here at ZMAX, and just generally becoming more aware of what happens when you go up into tire smoke and you've got to get out of it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It was eliminations on Sunday, and I was up there talking to Sean Langdon, congratulating on his, new deal, and we were just talking about, our weekend. And the one, that weekend was tough for us. We went out, and Larry Dixon got us, and it was a pedal fest, and really it was you have to take that, and I have to learn from my mistakes because I screwed up. But the only way to, figure it out is to make a mistake like that and, come back from it. But it was just, our car wasn't going down the track. It went up in smoke, and the problem was I pedaled it too fast. And, in something like that, you really have to let the cars pedal, and it's so tough to do that when it's right off the line. That's the most challenging thing about driving the car is you want to step on the gas and get it to go. And if it blows the tires off it before 60 feet, you're wondering, why is it not going down the track? And for me, I pulled my foot out of it and jumped back on it, and it was too quick, too fast. So that's what, Sean and I were talking about. People probably did think we're crazy because we're, using our arms and hands trying to, talk about, what the actual runs felt like.
Yeah.
But that's the one great thing about our sport is, I'm able to go to other drivers and talk to them about things like that. But it was definitely a tough weekend, but, we have to, wrap it up and hopefully learn from it next time.
Well, you're being number 3 in points right now. You're not doing too bad. Tell us, Brittany, what do you do when you get in the car and you're preparing yourself for the run? Are you visualizing? Are you, how focusing on? What are you doing? What are you focusing on when you get in the car and you're getting ready to start?
It's just, I'm just playing the run through my head. I actually go through the motions of it all. And I'll sit in my car for 10 minutes, on Friday before we head up for Q1 and just go over exactly what I'm doing as if I were making a run, and that just makes me, feel more comfortable on the seat. And especially now, I do it every single weekend. It's something I've always done back in Super Comp A field, and it just makes me feel more comfortable as a driver.
Well, I know you've got Lanny Miglisi over there at John Force Racing, and one of the things he used to tell me years ago was, Doug, be a machine. Does he still tell you to be a machine?
Absolutely. It takes everybody, though, to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
How cool is it that the Top Fuel team at John Force Racing is really kind of carrying the banner for John Force Racing during the countdown? The funny cars have struggled a little bit, and I think that there's probably looking ahead a little bit, but there's no question who the best performing team right now is at John Force Racing, and it's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, I'm so proud of the entire Monster Energy team. And, we got off to a rough start, and things have really clicked. We've really turned things around, especially now these last few races when it really, really matters. And, we're number 3 in the points. That's pretty awesome. But we're so close. I mean, number 4 or 5, they're that close behind us. And, one bad weekend, everything could turn around. But we're not looking at that. We're looking on, keeping our focus, doing our job, and not making any mistakes. That's the thing in the countdown. You can't make any mistakes. Driver, crew chief, anybody on the team. And we're going after it this weekend. We only have 3 races left, and everything matters. Every point matters. So, we're going after it the best that we can.
The last year's race at Texas was a weird one because there was the completion of the Charlotte race that ended up getting overlapped into Texas. It was just kind of a mess. But during all of that, there was a DNQ for you guys. So how much are you going to – can you look back at notes from last year knowing that there was some of it was qualifying, but it was racing, and some of it wasn't? It was really kind of a confusing time. How much do you just going to kind of try to forget that? Or can you look back at some of those notes and go, okay, here's what we did wrong?
No, I definitely think you look back and you learn from your mistakes. This is my 3rd year driving, so we have, the last 2 years to look back on and look at our runs and learn from that. But really, it all boils down to qualifying. What conditions are, because conditions probably aren't the same as what they are last year, and it's making every pass count and getting you set up for Sunday.
Well, and what I think it always seems to me, Brittany, and what I've always found is that first run kind of sets the tone for the weekend. So you go out there, you make that first run really well, like what you guys did up in Reading, and it sets a good tone for the weekend. So that probably is your key. So you need to get Todd Smith and Ronnie Thompson and all your guys together and say, guys, let's make this first run and, take it from there. You got the momentum then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, that's really – You're right what you just said about that first run. Not only does it set you up, but it also gets your mindset right. It motivates the entire team. Okay, we got down to that first run. Now we get 3 more, and we want to try to step it up to get us ready. But, it's that first run of the weekend, it does set you up. It pumps you up, gets you excited, and that's what the whole team needs.
Yep. Trying to hold on to that number 3 points position. Headed to the Texas Motorplex this weekend and looking for that breakout win. Brittany Force, driver of the Monster Energy Top Fuel Dragster, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and good luck this weekend in Dallas.
Thank you very much.
It's Brittany Force, and like you said, Doug, she is the next one. There's been a lot of drivers that are really close to getting that first win. As we mentioned, Chris McGahey was one of those. He was really close a couple of times, finally got it, and now he's got 2 more under his belt before we get to Pomona. Drew Skillman was one of those guys, really close, finally got that first win. I mean, I think Brittany's probably the next one to get that breakout win.
Well, John Force Racing, she's got a lot behind her, so I think it's just a matter of, like I say, getting that first win, getting comfortable. Lanny Miglisi, I just mentioned that to her because Lanny was the clutch guy for everybody in the pits back along, in the early 90s, and he'd come around and he'd talk to you a little bit about tuning the car, running the car. But what I remember most, what he would say is, Doug, go up there and be a machine. And hopefully he has that into Brittany's head too, because
Right.
I think that's a good mindset to have.
Yeah.
Is okay, I'm driving a machine. I got to be part of the machine. No mistakes. Just do everything perfect. You go over in your head, you visualize it, and then you make it happen.
And what she mentioned, she is doing. She gets into the car about 10 minutes before that first run, just kind of going through what she needs to do, getting, letting the brake go, hitting that loud
Well, and John
pedal.
Force is one of the best at that. I've seen him sitting in his car for an hour in the staging lanes, going over in his head. He's moving around and he's doing all this stuff and hitting the throttle, getting excited. So she's got a pretty good teacher over there, I think. And
Yeah,
he knows
I
how to
think
win
so.
races, I'd say.
Yeah, I would think so. Another guy that knows how to win races and championships will join us on the telephone next. He is the driver of the KB Racing Summit Chevy Camaro, and Greg Anderson will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
Jed Herbert designed and manufactured the first roller cam for racing in 1949. Today, NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert continues his father's legacy. Herbert Cam stocks cams for virtually all racing applications, from street ride to NASCAR and NHRA. Herbert Cams can also custom grind a cam for any application. Cams, lifters, valve springs, push rods, and all related performance valve train and engine parts in stock at the best prices. Visit HerbertCams.com or call our expert technicians at 800-444-7373 for all your racing needs. Herbert Cams.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to Brittany Force for joining us on the Straight Line this afternoon. And joining us on the telephone line right now is driver of the Summit Racing Chevy Camaro for KB Racing. Greg Anderson joins us. Champ, thanks for being here. Appreciate your time. Headed down to Dallas, in one of those places that can make you or break you during the countdown.
Yes, sir. Going to the Motorplex. I always look forward to going to the Motorplex. She was the first super track on the schedule, so to speak, and we've got a whole bunch more of them on the schedule now. But it was the first. It's still a great facility, still a great race service, and it's a place we can go and run real fast at. So looking forward to this weekend.
Hey, Greg, tell us, I know years ago, the Pro Stock car seemed to have a little bit of trouble with the groove there at Texas. It was narrow, and some of the guys didn't particularly care for it much. It sounds like you have a pretty good feeling about it, but tell us what the general consensus was and is about running there at Texas Motorplex now.
Well, there's no question, Doug. You got to be on your toes down there. You cannot get out of the groove and expect to stay in the thing. And as long as you're cognizant of that and you realize you can get in trouble getting out of the groove, you really try to pay attention to keeping the car straight and getting it back in the groove early in the racetrack. If you can get her back in the groove early in the racetrack, you're fine. If you wait till later down track and it's out of the groove and you try to correct that thing, it can cause big trouble with that concrete down track. So we've kind of learned that over the years, and it's just, as long as you've been there, done that before, you realize what the deal is. You realize if you go left or right in low gear, get her back in the groove early, and then you're fine. So if you do that, it's a great service.
Yep. And you've been in this position before. You're running for the championship. Eric Enders has been tough this year. There's no doubt about that. But you're less than 4 rounds out of the lead. What do you have? Like I said, you've been here before. What do you have? What are you guys going to pull out to get this job done over the next 3 races?
Well, I've got the car right now, Doug. Yep. I've got the horse to ride. I've had the best car for the last several races, and I've dropped the ball personally. So that's what I've got to fix. I've got to stop making mistakes. I made mistakes early at Charlotte and at St. Louis, and at Reading I had a better job and had a good run going and was getting the job done until the final round I made a mistake. So one step closer, and the bottom line is I'm out of mulligans. I don't have any mulligans left. I've got to be error-free the rest of the way. She's tough. She's got a big lead. She's driving great race team. So I can't expect to get, to make any more mistakes and have a chance to win this thing. So that's the bottom line. I've got to be mistake-free. I know that. The great news is I've got the great car underneath me, and I know I'm going to have that. So I've got a great shot.
Greg, how, last year, obviously, you had some health issues. You come back, and every time I've talked, you said, man, I feel great, better than ever. Is that still the case? You're 100%?
Absolutely.
Oh,
and that's why it gnaws at me a little bit because I've got no excuses, Doug. I feel great. I don't have any excuses. I can't blame this on a rebuilding year. I can't blame this on the fact I don't quite feel right. I feel great, and I should be racing at the top level, and I have been for most of the season. I just made a slip the last few races, and it's in the head, it's in the mind, and I guess I probably pressed a little bit too hard, and you know how that works. Usually you got to ride what got you there. You got to relax and have fun and realize what got you there. You can't try to change things once you get to the playoffs because things are more important. There's more on the line. When you try to do that, it seems you probably tense up a little bit and you make mistakes. So just got to get back to that loose mind, loose feeling, and ride the horse that I've got and don't try to do anything special with it.
Yep.
Since we last talked to you, Greg, KB Racing has shrunk a little bit. Vincent Nobile has left the organization. Does this help or hurt further along we go during the season?
Well, quite honestly, at this time of year, trying to run 4 cars at one time, it's a bit of a challenge. It's a task. So we're kind of welcoming the fact that we can run through the playoffs with just 3 to pay attention to. And, the 4 is always a benefit, by getting more runs on a racetrack and things, but it certainly takes up a lot more of your time, a lot more of your crew chief's time and things like that. So, Rob's been able to concentrate more on Jason's and my car, since we're down to 3, and I think it's paying dividends. So I think we all feel better about it, at least running through the playoffs, down a car. And it was great getting us here. It was great getting us all the information we needed, and we got the cars to certainly run better through the process. But now that we've got them running great, I think we can pay attention to detail better at the racetrack when we're running 3. So we're actually kind of feeling good about it right now and feeling this probably would help our chances to win a championship this year.
Well, that might be a good thing. Tell us a little bit about Ken Black and Jason Line and how everything's going with the team. For these last 3 races, you'll be going to Kim's hometown in Las Vegas, so that's always probably good for him and good for you guys as well. So tell us what the plans are.
Well, it's great, and when they drew up the schedule for the countdown, these last few races definitely fall into our backyard and into tracks that we love to race at. We've always been strong at Vegas. We've always been strong at Pomona. Those are 2 very strong tracks for us. We've always been strong at Dallas. So really, I can't complain one little bit. It's almost like home court advantage for us. I think these are probably 2 or 3 of our very much strongest tracks on the whole circuit, and we're very fortunate that they're the last deciding races of the countdown. So got as great a chance as anybody, and the table is set, the cards are dealt, and we got to just go play them now error-free is what it comes down to. But the ingredients are all there.
Now that Jason is back in points, and it's going to take a minor miracle to get him back, does that change the way that you approach? And I'm not saying that anybody's going to lay down because you guys have proven in the past that you guys race straight up. But does it change the way the organization will run over these last 3 races, knowing that Jason probably doesn't have a chance for that championship?
Yeah, probably a little bit. If there happens to be one engine that we think is just a tick better or whatever, we'll certainly put it in my car. On Jason's end, he's mathematically, I guess, just about out of the championship hunt. But you know what? That means he can go race carefree. He can go race. He'll be very dangerous over the next few weeks. He doesn't have anything to lose. He can go up there and be as aggressive as he wants to be, and certainly no pressure on him. And all the pressure's gone right now. So it's a great way to be able to drive. And hopefully that'll translate to, him beating some of our competition and knocking them out of my way. So, it's a sad deal. I wish we were both contending for the championship, but that's not the way it is. But, yes, it can still pay dividends. He can be very, very dangerous going through the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, you're real close, kind of one of our hometown guys here in Mooresville. So one of these days we need to get you down and actually get you on the set with us in the studio doing a show.
Yeah, I'd love to try that.
Okay, that's going to be a plan.
Bo, they can't see my face.
You're like me. I got a face for radio. Yeah.
Bo Butner, talk about his maturation during this season. We've been talking during the show about guys and girls who are really close to their breakout wins and getting that first win. Bo Butner's one of those guys.
He is, and we're having a ball racing with Bo. He's a great guy. And he's absolutely sucked this deal up like a sponge. He's gotten better every race. He's been to the semifinals the last 2 races, and quite honestly, absolutely has a car that he can win with right now. So I feel fortunate to have him part of our team. He's a great guy to race with. We're having fun. and he's learning, he's going forward, and he's absolutely a very dangerous competitor. And hopefully he can do the same thing that Jason Line is going to try and do over the next 2-3 races, knock some of that competition away. So the more cars you have that can run fast, the better it is, because when you've got, nobody that can beat your competition, you got to rely on yourself. That's not the best way to have things, because sometimes you may not match up till, late in the day. So the more cars that can run fast and have a chance of beating each other, I think the better off we are. So right now, that's the way the class is, and fortunately, 3 of them right here in our own camp.
Yeah. While you're in the championship contention, obviously you're taking this round by round, but obviously you're also looking into 2016 and all the changes happening in the Pro Stock class. Can you even look ahead a little bit, Greg, and try to anticipate some of that stuff and work on 2016 stuff, or are you just 100% absolutely focused on what's happening right now?
I would say I'd call it 95% focused on what we're doing right now. But yes, we've got parts in the door now, and we are starting to assemble things and rig things up and plan for the off season. We're not certainly to the dyno with anything yet, or trying to take up any valuable dyno time from our current stuff. But you got to start the ball rolling, and we're basically doing that with any spare hour we get. But putting a lot of emphasis into trying to win this championship. Sure would love to win it this year, and love to win it into, I guess, the last chance with this format, with a carbureted, hood-scooped era, and non-fuel injected era. I'd love to be the last one to win the championship. So putting a lot of emphasis into that, and in any little spare 30 minutes or hour we get, we're preparing for the big off season with the changeover.
And the changeover including a red car.
Not going to change the red car.
You said it at Charlotte.
That is one solid.
Yeah, that no more cars with a different color other than red. You are sticking with red.
Don't even have to ask anymore. Don't have to make any decisions. What color are we going to paint this one? We know exactly what color they're going to be from now on.
Well, that's great. Greg Anderson, driver of the Kin Black Racing, Summit Racing Camaro. Good luck to you this coming weekend up at Dallas. And, man, you got 3 races. Knock them dead, bud.
I'm going to try, boys. Thanks again.
Driver of the Summit Racing Chevy Camaro for KB Racing, Greg Anderson, 4-time Pro Stock champion. I just got a feeling that it's going to come down to Pomona again in Pro Stock. He's less than 4 rounds out. You've knocked 1 round a race at Dallas and at Las Vegas, and it comes down in if you're within 2 at Pomona, and you're stacking up the little points, boy, that's where it can get really, really interesting.
Well, like I say, you're within 2 rounds going into Pomona. You've got a pretty good shot because you can make up enough in qualifying.
Yep.
You want to put it where you don't have to count on the other drivers to do bad. So you really need to go into Pomona within 1 round. That way okay, all I have to do, real easy, right? All I have to do is win this race.
Yeah.
If I win this race, I'm the guy. Well, I don't think Eric Enders and her team's going to roll over. They've been too strong. She's really been doing a good job driving the car, and that team's they're just tough right now. They really have it together. And then it seems like they're adding stuff on, like talking to McGahey last week. They got his crew chief. So
adding Vincent Nobile over there.
Right. So there's some changes going on. They're bulking up right now, thinking that is going to be their method to go into the countdown and try and get that championship for that team. So, there's different strategies where Greg was just saying, how they are happy focusing more on 3 cars and being a little more dedicated. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding. We're going to see who's going to make that work best.
Yeah, the Elite Motorsports team now with 3 cars, with Vincent Nobile and jumping over there. So that's kind of leveled each other out. We'll see what happens in 2016. Words are, the rumors are flying that maybe Elite will have 4 teams next year. We'll see what happens when we get to the 2016 season. But right now, they're focused on what is going on right now. And that Vincent and Drew Skillman, they're head hunting for Greg Anderson and everybody on the KB team, because that's going to be their main competition, and it's going back and forth. This is almost like a football game where you have two teams, but you got a bunch of individual players over there, and they're all trying to knock each other out.
Right. Well, and there's, I think, a lot of stuff going on over there at Freeman Racing because they've got, when we had Eric on here a few weeks ago, she was hooking down this sponsor and hope to make an announcement. I haven't seen a sponsor. So they've got things going on over there besides racing the car. So what is going to come out at the end of the day, don't know. I guess, time will tell. It always seems to figure that out. But looking forward to talking to Jim Oberhofer coming up here from Coletta Racing.
Absolutely. Really interesting book coming out, and we'll talk to Jimmo about it. It's called A Taste of Top Fuel for Life, comparing a lot of life lessons to racing. And we'll talk to Jim Oberhofer next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
The road to victory lane isn't just for drivers anymore. Introducing the official daily fantasy game of NASCAR at DraftKings.com, America's favorite daily fantasy sports site. Just pick a team of 5 drivers and stay under the salary cap. Outscore your opponents and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code COAST to play for free. You could win part of the $1 billion in prizes being awarded this year. Enter COAST to play for free now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my 2 sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called Brakes. Brakes stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
Listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you joining us on a Wednesday afternoon here on MRN.com. It is The Straight Line. Along with Doug Herbert, I am Marty Hough. Jim Oberhofer has a lot of titles. He's the crew chief for the Mac Tools Top Fuel Dragster. He's also vice president of racing operations at Coletta Motorsports, and now he has another title, author. Taste of Top Fuel for Life is the name of the new book coming out. Jim Oberhofer is the author. Jim, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marty. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, Jimmo, tell us, you and I have talked a little bit about the book, and then I went online and read some of the excerpts from the book. Tell us the story in a condensed version about the book, about the story, and we want our listeners obviously to go out and buy the book. That's at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, thanks, Doug. Basically, what it is, it's a book, kind of about my life. Growing up around the racing world, and my family, and then coming to work for the Coletta family, for Scott Coletta and Connie Coletta, and then meeting my future wife, Tammy, and getting married, having a child, and all the ups and downs that you go through marriage, and then us having a daughter, our beautiful daughter Ashley, having a lot of success on the racetrack. As a kid, getting to work under the great Dick LaHaye. I mean, what more can you ask for? You have Dick LaHaye as your crew chief, Scott Coletta as your driver, and Connie Coletta as your team owner. I mean, you could do nothing but do good, and we got spoiled pretty quick. We went from being kind of a bunch of outcasts. The next thing you know, Scott Coletta is the Top Fuel World Champion for a couple of years in a row. And, and then, how when Dick LaHaye left the team and then Ed McCullough left the team and Connie put me in charge of Coletta Motorsports, and it was everything that I always wanted to do. I wanted to be a crew chief for Connie Coletta and Scott Coletta, and getting that opportunity and, but at the same time, forgetting that I had a family, forgetting that I had a beautiful, supportive wife in Tammy and an amazing young daughter in Ashley, and being too focused on one thing, and that was trying to succeed on the racetrack and trying to be the best crew chief that I could, best team leader that I could for Connie Coletta, and doing the best job that I could. And through all that, I went through struggles. Both Tammy and I went through struggles, but ultimately she got diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic lung cancer back in late April of 2012. And basically, from that point on, it's like, what did I learn? I didn't understand what she had, and I almost approached her like she was a tune-up on a race car that, oh, we can fix this. We can fix, a car that smokes the tires or a piston that's burnt on an engine or something like that. Just thought that we could fix it, no problem, and not really understanding what she had. And then once I finally figured out that, this woman's dying right before my eyes, it really changed me. It really changed the way I look at things, and I put her, she was first. Racing became secondary. Both Tammy and Ashley, my family became first to me, and racing was secondary, and basically trying to help her through this illness and trying to help her, whether it was taking her to the doctors, to the pain management clinic, sitting in the hospital room with her for hours and days at a time while she went through, extensive treatments. We had a pain pump implanted in her to try to manage the pain. And then, then ultimately figuring out that, all these things that she was having done to her, whether it was chemotherapy or radiation or pain management and pain pumps, all those things didn't make her better. And a simple thing that I found out about a month before she passed away, I took her and got her some ice cream at a Häagen-Dazs. Me and Tammy and my daughter Ashley, we went to Niagara Falls on a trip that both Tammy and I had procrastinated on for many, many years. And after we saw the falls, and she was kind of over all the craziness that went on around Niagara Falls, we went to a mall, and she said she wanted ice cream, took her to a Häagen-Dazs, and for 15 minutes she sat there and she ate that ice cream, and she had a big smile on her face. She was happy, and she was pain-free. And I was like, good God, I said, I've been missing this all this time. And a simple little thing like that made her happy and pain-free. And so I wanted to, basically share that story with everybody to kind of get them to maybe look at things a little bit differently. If you have a loved one that's in a situation like Tammy was with cancer, or, you have a marriage that's maybe struggling a little bit, or just the things in general that, maybe to keep things simpler and look for happiness in some of the simplest places. And for Tammy, it was simply just having ice cream, and that was a huge impact on me, that little cup of ice cream that she had that day.
Jimmo, was writing this book a way of therapy in getting over Tammy's passing?
Yeah, it was. I love talking about Tammy, and Doug can tell you that. I mean, I people have come up to me, shortly after she passed away and offer condolences and kind of ask what happened, and I would just start talking, and then they would start apologizing to me for making me talk about it. But I really enjoyed talking about her, and I enjoyed talking about how courageous she was through this battle that she had with cancer, because really for the first 5 months that she had it, she really hid it from me well, as far as how bad it was. She hid it from both myself and my daughter and acted like it was no big deal. And it was easy for her to hide it and schedule doctor's appointments because I was on the road all the time. I was, racing, and, I didn't get to go to the doctors with her that much, so I really didn't understand what was going on. And then finally, when the end of the 2012 season happened, I started going to the doctors more with her, and then that's when I really got that wake-up call, like, this is not good, and this is not going to get better, and, she doesn't have much time left on this earth. And that was when I really, really pulled my head out of my ass and tried to be there for her every single minute that I could, and tried to be a sounding board for her, because I don't know what it's like to wake up in the morning knowing that you're potentially gonna going to pass away. And, I tried to understand that and then tried to put myself in her shoes, what that could be like. And so I just tried to want to be there for her every single day. And if she needed to vent on me about something, then I was there. I wanted her to vent on me. If she was mad about something, she could yell at me. Whatever needed to happen, I wanted to be there for her. And so writing this book, has brought up so many good memories of both, my childhood and growing up in around race cars, coming to work for Connie and Scott Coletta, my friendship with Scott Coletta and Doug Coletta, and my marriage. I mean, there's so many good things that happened writing this book, and I think my biggest problem was being a crew chief is I analyze things too much, and then you want to re-engineer the wheel all the time. And finally, with this book, I had to say, all right, I'm done. I'm not writing anymore. Yeah. It is what it is, and hopefully people like it.
Well, Jimmo, I'm excited to look forward to it. And like I said, I read the little bit about you and Tammy and Ashley and the trip to Niagara Falls, and made me kind of think about that, because eating ice cream, it's kind of hard to be upset or sad or whatever.
Yeah,
when you're eating ice cream, it's like, wow, that's just
right.
a good thing. And that was I brought tears to my eyes reading that part out of your book. Yep. Hey, Jimmo, so tell us, in addition to the book, there's a race this weekend. You're rolling out your book down there in Dallas. Coletta Motorsports in a pretty good position now, leading the funny car points. So you've got, in addition to the book, obviously, you've got other things to focus on this weekend. Tell us about all the different things that you have going on.
Well, this weekend it's awesome. I get to, in fact, I just got to Dallas here a little more than an hour ago, and for me, it's home. I get to go visit with my mom and dad later on today, and then tomorrow head out to the racetrack. Head out to the Texas Motorplex. The first of the I guess stadium style super tracks that we had. Was built back in 1986, and it's always been a special place for me to come race. Because of it being close to home. It was where I first asked Tammy out to be my girlfriend, and then, Scott Coletta, clinching 2 world championships here at the Texas Motorplex. And then, the race wins that we've had here with Scott Coletta and Doug Coletta over the years. It's such a great place to come race. And, and then, the other thing that's cool is, our current Coletta Motorsports team, Del Worsham leading the points. And having a chance of winning that world championship at the end of the year. So it's a big weekend for those guys to kind of rebound from a tough Reading race. And I can tell you right now, it's definitely not going to be 50 degrees here in Reading or in Texas with a 65-degree racetrack like it was in Reading. But so we're looking forward to Del having a great weekend. For Alexis, it's close to home for her now. She's from Austin, Texas now. That's where her and Jesse James live, so it's a cool deal for them. They have a lot of friends and family that'll be around, and Doug Coletta's car. Obviously, we're wanting to do what we did here a couple of years ago in 2013 and put the Mac Tools car in the winner's circle, and it's kind of special because we're running a breast cancer awareness car, and so that's really cool. And then J.R. Todd, with his Redline Oil car, bringing that back out for this race. All 4 of our cars being in the top 10. I mean, I'm so proud of our entire team and what we've been able to accomplish these last 2 years, having all of our cars in the top 10. And then I've got this book launch, and I've got to make sure that I keep focused on racing, because if I don't, then I'm going to have a lot of people mad at me, both fans and my crew members, if we don't do a good job. But just like with tuning a race car, writing a book, you have to have a great support group behind you, and I have that with the people at JGR Marketing, and then the people at Coletta Motorsports, Rachel Bruner and Rachel Delago, and Bob Lawson, and then my daughter Ashley. She's done such a great job helping out, and Cody Poor, our PR guy, setting things up. It's going to be a busy weekend, but I think it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm excited. Cowboy Bob's coming back to a race for the first time in a while, and my good friend Pat Galvin's coming out with his son Nick Galvin, who he gets to work on the Mac Tools car. So it's going to be an exciting weekend for us.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I hope you have a great race down there for not only you and the whole Coletta Motorsports team, but I also, on a personal side, I want to thank you, Jim-O, for all that you've done for me and for being my friend and for your help and support of Brakes. And you've been just a super friend, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure, Doug. It's the same goes to you. You're an awesome person, and what you're doing is an amazing thing. Getting those kids to understand how to drive right, and that's very, very important.
Yes, sir.
Jim-O, where can we get the new book? Well, first of all, when can we get the new book, and where can we get it?
Well, right now it's being sold on Amazon.com. It's both in paperback version and Kindle. And then we're also going to be selling it at the racetrack starting this weekend. It'll be in the Patron merchandise trailer, and then also I believe in the Nitro Mall. We're working on that, but I believe that's going to happen. And then eventually we'll probably have it for sale on the Coletta website. We just have to figure out how we're going to go about doing that, whether we direct people directly to Amazon.com or we have a supply ourselves. I've got a printer that's printed 1,000 books up for me currently.
Wow.
And the hardest part about this, guys, is like I've got so many people that want me to sign the book. I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. So they want to know how they can sign it if they're not coming out to the racetrack. So that's been a tough thing to figure out, but I'll try to accommodate everybody.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, it is. It's a great problem.
A Taste of Top Fuel for Life is the name of the book. Jim Oberhofer is the author, and he's ready to get and going at the Dallas Motorplex this weekend with the Mac Tools team. Jim-O, thanks for your time. We really appreciate it. Good luck with the book, and good luck this weekend in Dallas.
Thank you very much, guys. You guys take care.
Thanks, Jim-O.
Jim Oberhofer joining us, and you could just tell the passion when he's talking to us about this whole project and why it actually. And it's a shame that it had to happen, but these things happen, and as well as anybody.
Well, absolutely. And Jim-O's very good at analyzing something. I went out to dinner with him a few weeks ago when we were in Detroit, and just talking, and his analytical approach to this, and him getting his lesson for his life that he's gathered out of all this, with Tammy and with her illness, and also with Scott and the tragedy surrounding his death, and working with Connie Coletta since 1983, working with Dick LaHaye, working with Ed McCulloch. I mean, he's been on the top and been down to the bottom and drug himself back up. So just a neat guy.
Yep, and like we said, we've read some of the excerpts of it, and it's really good.
I'm going on to Amazon when I get out of here and get me a copy of that book.
A Taste of Top Fuel for Life is the name of the book, and you can get it on Amazon. And if you're at the Dallas Motorplex this weekend, you can also buy it there. Big thanks to Jim-O. Big thanks to Brittany Force and Greg Anderson for joining us on today's program. For Doug, for Daryl, I'm Marty. We will talk to you next week on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in next Wednesday at noon for more NHRA talk. The Straight Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.